You have been programmed to trust exactly the people who will destroy you. Pause for a second and feel the discomfort of that sentence sinking in. It's not paranoia. It's the brutal reality of how modern society has completely inverted your survival instincts. Think about it. Your ancestors could detect predators from miles away. A strange movement in the vegetation, a sound out of place, an energy that didn't feel right, and they knew it was time to run. These instincts kept our species alive for millions of years. But today you live surrounded by predators who don't use claws or fangs. They use smiles, validation, compassion, and personal growth. And most disturbing of all, you've been conditioned since childhood to welcome them with open arms. Modern civilization has created something that has never existed in human history. A society where being good means turning off your internal alarms. Where questioning intentions is judgment. Where setting boundaries is toxicity. Where your intuition is bias. The result? An entire generation of people who can spot a scam on WhatsApp but can't see when they're being emotionally cannibalized for years on end by someone who just wants to help. Carl Jung spent decades studying this psychological inversion. He discovered that the most dangerous predators are not those who attack openly. They are those who hijack your basic human need for connection, growth, and love. They don't break you all at once. They make you break yourself while thanking them for it. And Jung identified exactly 6 masks that these predators wear. 6 psychological personas that have been refined and perfected by modern society until they have become indistinguishable from genuinely secure people. What you are about to discover goes against everything you have been taught about kindness, compassion, and healthy relationships. Because the truth is, we live in an age where wolves have learned to speak the language of therapists. The first thing Jung noticed about modern emotional predators is that they don't look like predators. In fact, they look exactly like the people society has taught you to value: empathetic, vulnerable, in need of help. This is no coincidence. It's evolution. Think about how the world has changed. Our ancestors lived in small tribes where everyone had known each other for decades. A sociopath couldn't keep up a mask for long because people would watch them hunt, work, interact with children, react to real stress. But today you meet people through carefully curated profiles, through first impressions in controlled environments, through conversations where they already know exactly what you want to hear, because they've spent years studying how to make a good impression. Modern society has created the perfect habitat for emotional predators, a world where superficial interactions are normal, where constant job and relationship changes mask destructive patterns, and where therapeutic language has given manipulators the exact words to sound safe. Jung called this the perfect persona, a mask so well constructed that even the wearer doesn't realize it's a mask. The first type, the perpetual victim. You know this person. They always have a tragic story at the tip of their tongue. They've always been betrayed, always misunderstood, always fighting against unfair circumstances. And at first, this awakens something deep within you. You want to help. You want to be the person who finally understands them. But Jung discovered something disturbing about this pattern. People who live in perpetual victimhood are not seeking a solution. They are seeking control. Modern society has amplified this in a frightening way. We live in a culture where trauma has become social currency, where suffering generates followers, where being a victim gives you instant moral authority. Social media rewards narratives of pain with likes and supportive comments. Entire social movements are organized around victimhood. The result? A new category of predator who uses suffering as bait. They don't manipulate you through force or charm. They manipulate you through your compassion. Every time you try to set a boundary, they share a trauma. Every time you question their behavior, they explain how they were hurt in the past. Every time you walk away, they throw a tantrum. And the darkest part? It works. Because society has conditioned you to believe that questioning someone in pain makes you a bad person. The second type, the perfect mirror. This one is even more dangerous because they seem like the opposite of a victim. This person is positive, inspiring, always validating you. They laugh at your jokes, share your opinions, dream your dreams. It's like finding your soulmate. But Jung noticed something sinister. When someone agrees with you on everything, you're not getting to know a person. You're getting to know a calculated reflection of what you want to see. The digital age has made this a perfect art form. Today, anyone can stalk your profiles for hours before meeting you. They know what movies you like, what kind of humor you enjoy, what causes you support, what lifestyle you aspire to. When you meet, they've already prepared the ideal persona to hook you. They aren't chameleons by instinct, they're chameleons by design. What Jung discovered is that these people never developed an identity of their own. Instead, they became experts at being what others need them to be. And when you fall in love with them, you're not falling in love with a person. You're falling in love with the improved version of yourself that they're reflecting back to you. The terrifying part? When you stop admiring them, when you need them to be themselves instead of your reflection, you discover that there's nothing there, just emptiness. And that emptiness will try to suck everything out of you to fill itself. These two types are just the beginning. Jung found that they are the most obvious, the ones we can still detect with some effort. But the other four are where things get really dark. Because they don't exploit your compassion or your vanity. They exploit your need to grow. Is this content making you reflect and sparking new ways of thinking? If so, click the super thanks button just below the video. It's a way to say thank you and help me bring more content like this to those who need to reflect on life. The next two types Jung identified are direct products of modern social sophistication. They didn't exist in this form in more primitive societies because they require something that only our era has created. Environments where emotional destruction can be disguised as professional development and personal growth. The crucial difference is that the first two types attack you through your weaknesses, your compassion, and your ego. But these next ones, they attack you through your strengths, through your ambition, your dreams, your courage to try new things. The third type, the fear facilitator. This person will never tell you to give up. That would be too obvious. Instead, they will support you in ways that plant seeds of doubt so subtle that you will think the insecurity is coming from within you. Wow, you're so brave to go after that dream. I admire that. I could never risk so much, especially with the market the way it is. You're so confident. It must be amazing to feel that way. I always think about all the things that could go wrong. It's great that you're trying this. Even if it doesn't work out, at least you'll know you tried, right? Jung realized that this is refined sadism. The person isn't openly wishing you ill. They're inoculating you with their own cowardice, disguised as realism and caution. Modern corporate society has turned this into a tool of institutional control. How many times have you heard a boss say, "I don't want to discourage you, but," and then list all the possible obstacles? How many times has someone protected you by convincing you not to try something that could change your life? The sinister thing is that they do this because your success threatens them existentially. If you manage to do what they didn't have the courage to do, it forces them to confront their own cowardice. It's easier to convince you to stay at their level than to admit that they chose mediocrity. The fourth type, the invisible competitor. This type has evolved over the last few decades to become virtually undetectable. They don't compete with you openly. That would be too primitive. They compete through social algorithms. When you share good news, they celebrate, but always with a slight twist that diminishes your brilliance. That's amazing! You got that promotion! You must be relieved that they finally recognized your work. Congratulations on your new relationship. After everything you've been through, you deserve to find someone nice. Wow, what an achievement. And you didn't even need any connections. You did it all on your own. Every compliment carries a slight diminishment. Every celebration comes with a subtle reminder that you were in a lower position before. But their real weapon is even more sophisticated. They use you as an audience for their own successes, but are never available to witness yours. When they have something to celebrate, you're the first person they turn to. When you have something to celebrate, they always have a meeting, a crisis, an unmissable appointment. Jung discovered that these individuals have a neurotic need to feel superior, but they are too smart to show it in an obvious way. So they have created a system where you are always in a position to admire them, but they are never in a position to admire you. The age of social media has taken this to the extreme. Now they can calibrate exactly when and how to react to your posts. They know that 3 likes with no comment send a different message than 7 likes with a heart emoji. They know the exact math of calculated support. And when you finally notice the pattern, when you confront the asymmetry, they always have a perfect explanation. They were going through a difficult time. They were very busy. They didn't see the notifications. Jung called this social sadism, the ability to torture someone through society's own rules of courtesy. But even these types seem like amateurs compared to the next two, because the ones coming now don't attack your compassion, your ego, or your ambition. They attack your soul. The last two types Jung identified are the most dangerous because they have hijacked something sacred, our fundamental human need for transcendence and healing. They don't exploit your weaknesses. They exploit your quest to become a better person. Modern society has created the perfect environment for these predators by monetizing spirituality and psychologizing everyday life. Today, there is a guru for every wound, a coach for every insecurity, a method for every trauma. And in this have hidden the most sophisticated types of manipulators humanity has ever seen. The fifth type, the healer who keeps you sick. This person speaks the language your soul recognizes: growth, healing, awakening, alignment. They quote sacred texts, share ancient wisdom, talk about energy and vibrations. And most seductive of all, they always seem to be a few steps ahead of you on the spiritual path. At first, you feel grateful to have found someone so evolved. They help you identify toxic patterns, teach you about boundaries, guide you through your shadows. You feel like you finally found someone who understands your journey. But Jung discovered something disturbing. These people don't want you to heal. They want you to depend on their perspective on your healing. Every time you show real growth, they find a new layer of trauma to explore. Every time you feel strong, they point out a new aspect you still need to work on. Every time you question their methods, they suggest that this is resistance, that you are not yet ready for the truth. I see that you are still in your ego. When you transcend this need to be right, you will understand what I am trying to show you. Your anger at what I said shows exactly the trigger that needs to be healed. You're projecting your issues with authority onto me. That's very common at this stage of awakening. Jung realized that these people built an entire identity around being more awake than others. They haven't developed real wisdom. They've developed a sophisticated vocabulary to keep people stuck in a position of eternal spiritual inadequacy. The modern personal development industry has exploded this archetype. Today, you can find these gurus on every platform, selling clarity to confused people, selling peace to anxious people, selling power to people who feel powerless. They never say you're healed. There's always one more course, one more retreat, one more technique. You're never ready to fly on your own because that would end the relationship and the flow of adoration that feeds them. The sixth type, the energy-sucking empath. This is the most sinister of all because it uses your own healing ability as a weapon against you. This person feels everything. They pick up on emotional nuances that others miss. They know when you're sad before you even know it yourself. They offer exactly the kind of comfort you need. And this creates such a deep sense of connection that you let down all your defenses. But Jung discovered that many people who identify as empaths are actually projecting their own emotional instability onto the world and demanding that others manage it. You start to notice that you need to manage your emotions so as not to affect them. You can't be stressed because they absorb your tension. You can't be too excited because they feel pressured to be on the same level. You can't have a bad day because it drains their energy. Without realizing it, you've stopped feeling your own emotions naturally. Every feeling has been filtered through. How will this affect her? You've become responsible not only for your own emotions, but for her emotional reactions to your emotions. Your anxiety is making me anxious. Can you process that before you come see me? I feel like you're holding something back from me. This secretive energy is hurting me. When you get defensive like that, it triggers my abandonment issues. Can you be more mindful of how your communication affects me? Jung called this emotional vampirism disguised as sensitivity. The cruelest part is that they really do feel intensely. But instead of learning to process their own emotions, they've outsourced that responsibility to you. And modern society, obsessed with validation and safety, has created a culture where questioning this makes you seem insensitive. The truth Jung discovered is that real empathy includes personal responsibility for your own emotional reactions. Toxic empathy is when someone uses their sensitivity as an excuse to control the emotional environment of everyone around them. Now, you know the 6 types. But knowing isn't enough. Because the question Jung spent his entire life trying to answer wasn't just who are these people, but why do you attract them? The answer will force you to look at something no one wants to see. Wake up, work, pay bills, sleep, and repeat it all over again the next day. Life goes by like this, and one day you realize that time has slipped away. Dreams were postponed. Opportunities went unnoticed. This happens because no one ever taught you how to see the game of life the right way. But there is another path. If you want to reach the next level, you need to access new knowledge. And that's exactly what you'll find in the White Rabbit Codes. This book will open your eyes to what is really happening. You'll understand why you keep getting stuck in the same cycles, learn how to escape autopilot, and start seeing the opportunities that were always there. And finally, you'll make decisions that truly lead to the life you've always wanted. If you feel ready for this change, the link is in the pinned comment. You'll be surprised at how simple it can be to increase your prosperity. Success is a decision. The choice is yours. The question no one wants to ask is this: why do you attract these people over and over again? Jung discovered something that destroys all our fantasies about being innocent victims. You don't attract toxic people by chance. You attract them because there is something in you that resonates with them. Something you buried so deep that you don't even know it's there anymore. He called it the shadow. All the parts of you that modern civilization has taught you to repress. Your anger when someone disrespects you. Your suspicion when something seems too good to be true. Your coldness when someone tries to manipulate your feelings. Your cruelty when you need to set firm boundaries. Society has convinced you that these qualities are toxic. That evolved people are always understanding, always patient, always open to dialogue. That suspecting someone's intentions is judgmental. That walking away without explanation is fantasy. That protecting your energy is selfish. The result? You've castrated your own survival instincts in the name of being a good person. Jung realized that when you reject your shadow, it doesn't disappear. It becomes a magnet. Every part of you that you deny seeks someone to express it for you. If you repress your anger, you attract chronically angry people. If you repress your manipulation, you attract master manipulators. If you repress your need for control, you attract compulsive controllers. They're not there to destroy you. They're there to show you what you refuse to see in yourself. But modern society has made this dynamic even more cruel. Because now your emotional predators speak the language of mental health. They know that if someone accuses you of being toxic for setting a boundary, you'll question yourself instead of questioning the accusation. They know that if they disguise control as non-violent communication, you'll feel guilty for resisting. They know that if they paint your intuition as unresolved trauma, you'll ignore the alarms your subconscious is sounding. The only way out is to do what Jung called shadow integration. Stop trying to be perfect and start being complete. This means regaining your ability to be unpleasant when necessary. Your ability to judge situations and people quickly. Your ability to walk away without giving explanations. Your ability to be cold to those who don't deserve your warmth. I'm not talking about becoming cruel or insensitive. I'm talking about stopping using kindness as a social survival strategy and starting to use discernment as a protective tool. The person who has integrated their shadow doesn't need to explain why they don't trust someone. They simply don't hang out with that person. They don't need to justify why a relationship isn't working. They simply end it. They don't need to prove that they are being manipulated. They simply walk away. Jung discovered that when you stop trying to be good and start being real, something interesting happens. Toxic people stop being attracted to you. Not because you've become hostile, but because you've stopped sending the unconscious signals they recognize as vulnerability. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop apologizing for your boundaries. You stop trying to convince people to treat you well. You stop accepting emotional crumbs from people who should be offering you banquets. And when someone tries to use the old tactics, victimization, mirroring, subtle disqualification, invisible competition, spiritual superiority, or emotional blackmail, you just smile and walk away. No drama, no explanations, no trying to heal anyone. Because you finally understood the most important lesson Jung tried to teach. The problem was never that the world is full of predators. The problem is that you were programmed to become the perfect prey. Modern civilization disconnected you from the instincts that kept your lineage alive for millions of years. It taught you that suspicion is paranoia, that protecting yourself is selfish, that judging is prejudice. But your ancestors knew something you forgot. In a world full of predators, indiscriminate kindness is not a virtue. It's suicide. True evolution is not about becoming more loving or more understanding. It's about becoming more aware. It's about regaining your ability to sense danger before it fully reveals itself. It's about trusting your intuition even when it can't logically explain why something is wrong. It's stopping making excuses for who you are when you're not trying to please anyone. Because in the end, Jung knew that the only real protection against emotional predators is not learning to identify them. It's becoming someone they can no longer use. And when you get to that point, something magical happens. You finally attract people who don't need to take anything from you to feel complete. If you've made it this far, you've already taken a step beyond most people. You're subscribed to the channel, you watch the videos, you reflect on every idea. Now the question is, how far do you want to take this? If you want to take the next step and truly apply this knowledge to your life, the White Rabbit Codes is ready for you. The link is in the pinned comment. Remember, success is a decision. The choice is yours. Count on me and follow the White Rabbit.